We are still finding the volume, so we still have that same formula, the area of the base times the height. Step 1, if you remember from the last example, said figure out what that shape is. So the question right now, and please raise your hand if you have a response, what shape is the base of this diagram? Raise your hand when you know. What shape is the base of this diagram? What's the shape of the base of this object? How many thought it was a rectangle? Wrong. Here's where we need to be really careful. The base of this shape is not going to be a rectangle. Because, and we mentioned this earlier, shapes are not always drawn so that the bottom is the base. You can tilt things on their sides, you can twist them in different directions. Here's what you need to actually consider. In a prism, and this is a prism, it's got two shapes that match on the ends, and it's all connected with rectangles. In a prism, and this is the same for most 3D objects, we're going to start this off with an if, because this doesn't always happen. If a 3D object has two identical shapes or faces, if a 3D object has two identical faces across from each other, that is the base. Yep. So if you notice that two sides opposite to each other are exactly the same, that's your base. So let's go back to figuring this out again. Let's start by considering this. Does anybody see a shape in this diagram that matches another shape exactly that is on the opposite end? Iris? The triangles. Those triangles are our base. The rectangles that we have on the bottom and the left and the right don't count as being across from each other because they all touch. The left and the right touch along the top. The bottom touches each side on the bottom edges, but these two triangles never touch each other. They are across from one another. Those are your bases. So if we continue the rest of this, step 2, let's find the area of the base. It's a triangle that we said is 6 by 5. So you need to remember that a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So I want 1/2 of 5 times 6. What is 5 times 6? 30. I want half of 30, which is what? 15. This will be 15 feet squared. That is the area of the base. That is our capital B, area of the base. Now, if that was the area of the base, so if we're claiming that the triangle is the base, it means that this whole thing is sitting on its side. So the triangle is the area of the base. Which number represents the height of the entire object? Lucas? The 11. This entire thing is laying on its side, which means the 11, even though it's not straight up and down, is actually going to be the height of this entire object. So we're going to take capital B, which we said was 15 feet squared. We're going to multiply it with our height, which is 11 feet. And if we multiply those together, we're going to get 165 feet cubed. So the big trick here is making sure you are very careful about which shape is the base before you begin the other steps.